What's going on, Remedy Nation, man? Listen, I am so excited to be with you on this particular midweek service, man. I am excited just for a few reasons. This last week, my wife killed the game, man, and I loved what she spoke about. You know what you heard? It was the journey to the giant. She said something that was, in a sense, prolific, something that I never really paid attention to, was the fact that in 1 Samuel 17, chapter 17, it's 58 verses that chronologues and depicts this battle between David and Goliath, where she said, no, baby, that's not true. She said, out of the 58 verses, only 2 of the verses described the actual battle. And everything else was about the journey to the giant. Listen, so if you're new to what's going on today, make sure that you get a pen, write down every verse that I speak about, write every question. If I challenge you to do some things throughout this particular midweek, this is the opportunity to put our faith in action, the Word of God in action, so that we can help take our lives to another level. It's cool to come in here on Sundays and to pay attention on Sundays and leave feeling good, but I want you to be filled. And when you are filled, you act like such. Man, listen, so my wife's title was The Journey to the Giant, the journey. So what I'm going to teach today is the marathon continues. Yeah, you heard it correct. The marathon continues. That being said, of course, I got to shout out Nipsey Hussle, a young black genius who had the opportunity to make music, help his community. Now, some of the music is not the greatest. I don't want to tell a story to you, but that thought that the marathon continues, meaning we're not going to stop and we're going to continue to level up, that's what I want to speak to you about today. We are going to talk about levels. Levels. Now, here you go. You got David, young David. My wife kind of told this story this past weekend, and I'm just going to throw a little bit more to it. David is this young guy who has all these brothers. Reality is that Samuel comes to his house and says that he is going to be the next king. The next king. Now, there is a king currently sitting on the throne. So my wife said it in a great way. She said he was anointed, but not yet appointed. And she went into this run, or this litany of things that you can be anointed to do, but not appointed yet. God told you he was going to start a business, but you're not quite there yet. God said that you were going to have a great marriage, even though you're not there yet. God said that you were going to be able to free your family out of bondage, whether that be a mental bondage, emotional bondage, financial bondage. You're just not there yet. And sometimes in between the anointing and the appointing, you can get frustrated, you can get tired, you can get irritated. But similar to what happened with David, I'm just telling you to stay focused. David, you are the king. Okay, cool. Well, what do I need to do? Just continue doing what you are doing. Stay on your assignment. My wife talked this weekend. Stay doing what God has called you to do. When you're on assignment, you don't have to look for assignment. So if God tells you to stay here, then don't worry about your next thing. God is going to bring that in once you pass this first thing. And I told you guys this before. Many of us are asking God to take us to another level and to do new things and to do more money and more business and more this and more this and more this. And God said, man, you're not even taking care of what I sent to you right now. Stay in your assignment. Stay in your assignment. Some of us are worried about getting a job after we graduate. Get through the classes first. Some of us are talking about how good or how bad our marriage is going to be. You're single right now. Just stay celibate. We're talking about what we would do if we had the promotion. No, just be the greatest entry-level worker right now. And when promotion comes, which promotion comes from the Lord, when promotion comes, if you stay on assignment, this is for someone. If you stay on assignment, then you'll be ready for that level up. David, he's this young guy. He's this young guy that takes care of all the sheep. He's a shepherd. His father put him over the flock at their particular house. And so right now, what's beautiful about what David is going through is God is unknowingly, hear me out, he's unknowingly preparing David to be a warrior. Oh my goodness, he's unknowingly. See, based off of what's happening in David's life right now, God is unknowingly preparing David to be a warrior. David doesn't even know that everything that he's going through, he's going to be able to use in the future. Oh my goodness, am I speaking to somebody right now? Truth be told, you are going through some things. And even though you don't know, God knows. Even though you don't know that what you're going through right now, you're going to be able to use, and you're going to be a great warrior in the kingdom. Let me speak to you right now. For those who have battled with depression, for those who have battled with drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and all that time you were wondering, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to get my heart broken? Why do I have to get fired? Why did I have to grow up poor? Why did I have to live in shelters? Why did I have to go through all of this stuff in my life? And now 5 years later, 10 years later, you have people in your life that you're able to minister to. You have family members that you're able to pull out of some mess because unknowingly God was preparing you to become a warrior. Use what you have. Figure out where you are in the kingdom. Figure out what assignment you're on. And I am telling you now that you are going to be able to use those things to catapult not only your life to another level, but those who are around you. Unknowingly, God was preparing him to become a warrior. Pastor, put some Bible on it because I don't know if this is true. Look what the Bible says. 1 Samuel 17, verse 34 through 36. It says, but David said to Saul, hold on, how did you jump from here? Okay, let me fill you in. By this time, Goliath is coming to the spot. He's like, hey, man, I'm about to kick y'all butt. And so y'all send y'all best warrior out. I'm going to fight your best warrior. So go ahead, let's do the thing. And so now everybody with King Saul in the Israel army, everybody with King Saul, they're like, we don't really want to fight dude. He kind of big. He's strong. He's been fighting his whole life. David hits the scene. He's supposed to be coming down there to rock with his brothers, give his brothers some food. David overhears Goliath talking crazy. Hey man, you know, there's nobody over there who can beat me. Yeah, I'm gonna take your homeland. I'm taking your wives. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do in the midst of war. And so he hears Goliath. At some point in time, even though David wasn't supposedly trained to be a warrior, he says, man, who is this dude? Who is this dude? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Who is this guy? They answer and they tell him who he is. So now listen, they tell David. David said, man, well, I'm about to go upside his head. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do in order to make sure that we get the victory. They're like, David, man, he's been fighting since he was a boy. You're only a boy. So they start to question him, even though they're scared to do it. That's the thing that confuses me. I'm around people, you're around people, we've been around people who is scared to take a chance and scared to take a risk and scared to live low for a minute so that one day they can live high, scared to do what they need to do in order to get to the next level. But then they're scared, but they still feel like they should be able to give you advice. Man, come on. I'm not hanging around people who are scared to pursue what God has called them to do and then allow them to give me scared advice. Look what the Bible says. Let me go back. But David said to Saul, your servant was fending his father's sheep when a lion and a bear came and took a lamb from the flock. I went after him and I attacked him. I rescued it from his mouth. And when he rose up against me, I seized him by the beard, struck and killed him. Your servant, listen to me, I've killed both lion and bear. I've killed both. I've killed both. So now listen to me, Saul. This man is out here threatening your life, threatening your family's life, threatening my life, threatening my family's livelihood. This thing out there has tormented our family and the village that we live in for a very long time. And nobody since I can remember has stepped up to say that I'm going to be able to fight that giant. Now I'm telling you that despite what you believe about me, I refuse to allow this giant to do whatever he or she wants to do inside of my life. And even though I may have been your last pick, I'm God's pick. That even though you counted me out, I'm God's pick. That even though you don't think I'm strong enough, I'm God's pick. And even though you don't think I have enough money, I'm God's pick. Even though you don't think I'm smart enough, I am God's pick. And right now, I'm going to go out there with David. What makes you think? Because unknowingly, when I was guarding my father's sheep, a job that you didn't think was really dangerous, God had sent some things my way to test where I was going to go in life. And a lion came there, a bear came there. And at the end of the day, when that lion came after the sheep and that bear came after the sheep, I found that lion, I found that bear. Not only did I find him, I grabbed him by the beard and I killed him so that I can protect the sheep. That's what a good shepherd does. And honestly, that's what a good king would do. But you're sitting here and instead of encouraging me to go to the next level, you're trying to tell me that I can't do it. So you're trying to insert doubt into the promise and the plan that God has for my life. So listen to me. I gave you my resume. What's yours? Because what's beautiful about this particular story is it's funny to me that as David is giving his resume, there's not one person there that's like, oh yeah, I did that too. Because you made what you went through look so easy. Because God gave you grace that people don't even give you the credit for going through what you went through. Oh my goodness. I'm speaking to somebody. There are people here that when you bring up what you've been through, people will try to discredit what you've been through because you went through it so well. You went through it so well that truth be told, they felt like you went through nothing. So when you bring up your childhood issues, they say, yeah, you bringing up your childhood issues, but you still graduated high school top of your class. I know because God graced me. When you start talking about your divorce, you didn't lose your mind during your divorce. You didn't mess with your emotions weren't messed up over your divorce. You still had the opportunity to take care of your church and take care of your house and to take care of your car. What are you complaining about? You had a gravy divorce. No, I didn't have a smooth and a gravy divorce, but when I was in the middle of it, God kept me. You don't understand that even when I cried at night, tears that you never seen run down my face, He kept me. So there are times where, yes, it looks like I'm doing the greatest. That's because God is keeping me. And I know I'm talking to individuals who are watching today that say, give me my credit for defeating the lion and the bear. There are some obstacles in my life that I have overcome. And the reason why I overcame them is because God was with me. He was for me. And I was diligent enough to make sure that I did exactly what He told me to do. Who else would go out and get a lion and a bear? Would you just let them take what you have? Would you just let them take your sheep, take your mind, take your finances, take your marriage, take your children, take your business, take your job? No, I'm going to go after everything that God had for me. And if a lion, spiritual lion, a spiritual bear, a physical lion, if you go after mine, I'm going to come after you. Sometimes in your journey toward the giant, my wife's title, and as the marathon continues, my title, you have to recollect your last level. When people are trying to cause doubt in your mind, you got to recollect and say, even though you don't think I can do this, He brought me through too much for me to fail right here. Recollect your last level. Because I believe that will push you to a space and a place where you will say, if I can win there, then I can win here. Listen, first task. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to type and to share some things that you have overcome in the past. And the reason why I'm telling you to type those things in the chat is because you're in a place in life where there is an obstacle, there is a task, there is a plan that God has put before you. But for some odd reason, doubt and fear questioning, the 3 things my wife talked about this past weekend, they're plaguing your mind and it's stopping you. But I would only venture that the reason that it's stopping you is because you forgot how much of a warrior you are. So listen, not only do I want you to type what you've overcome, but as people are typing what they're typing, I want you to start encouraging each other. You can do it. Keep going. Don't stop. Because if God can do it before, he can do it right now. You got 60 seconds. So I hope that that exercise really encouraged you. I hope someone, including myself, including my wife, somebody from our team said, no, you go, girl. Come on, my dude, you can get it done, because I truly believe that we have to be careful when we're around individuals who are scared, because they will give advice, listen to me, that will push us away from what God has for us, and they will encourage us sometimes to go after things that's not for us. So we're always in opposition with God when we are talking to people and rocking with people and getting advice from individuals who are operating in fear. Look in your circle and look at the things that you want to do in life. And then you match that up with the tenacity, the hunger of those who are around you. And if it's not matching up, and those are people that you can't necessarily get advice from, I would even venture to say that I don't know if you should even put them in that circle of friendship. Because every person, and I've said this before, every relationship that you have should benefit you in some area. Every relationship that you have. And if you see no benefit in that relationship, I don't know who it is, mother, brother, cousin, sister, it doesn't matter. If there is no benefit to the relationship, then why stay in it? Saul, you can't do it. David, I absolutely can. I defeated the bear. I defeated the lion. I got the promotion. I financed the car. I paid off the car. Made mistakes with credit cards, but I paid off the credit card. I went after the thing that tried to take my peace. But I had to recollect what I did before so that I can get to where I am now. The Bible, listen, the Bible is so good. 1 Samuel 17:36. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, since he has taunted the armies of the living God. First, I had to recollect my last level. I had to recollect my last level. And the reason why I had to recollect my last level is because there were people around me who weren't encouraging me. There were people around me who couldn't give me what I needed. So I had to get it from myself and Jesus. Sometimes you're not going to get what you need from your husband. You're not going to, and that's too much pressure, by the way. So for married couples who are watching right now, sometimes it's too much pressure on your wife and on your husband when they're the only source of encouragement, because sometimes we don't have it. And so sometimes you got to have a good enough relationship with God where you say, I know they love me, but they can't pull me up right now. So I need you to push me to a place where I remember that I am victorious. I'm not fighting for victory. I am fighting from victory. The moment that I step into a challenge, I am already victorious. I had to recollect my last level so that I can project my next level. First, he said, let you know, Saul, I beat them back then. I did that back then. I did this back then. The catch is back then is not necessarily going to help you now. So now from here, okay, you did that back then. Well, what are you going to do now? The next thing I am going to do is I'm going to kill that giant that's in front of us. I'm going to kill that giant that is in front of, pay attention, us. Catch it. Not the giant that's in front of me, the giant that is in front of us. I'm going to make sure that after this battle is done, it's not just going to help me, but you'll also get freedom. See, you're a certain type of David in your family. You were chosen, unknowingly trained by God to become a warrior, to fight a giant that's not just going to save you, but it's going to save your children and your co-workers and your boss and your mother and her friends. Why? Because you were sent and set apart from everybody else your entire life. And even though you were the smallest, the runt of the litter is what they called David, the cute boy, the pretty boy, the one who ain't had no calluses on his hand, the one who just was out there working in his father's field, taking care of his father's sheep on assignment that nobody really paid attention to. He was the one who was anointed king. You were the one who's going to be anointed the financial advisor. You are the one who's going to be able to be anointed the psychiatrist and the psychologist. You are going to be the one that everybody's going to call when they're in the middle of some mess, because you're the only one who can actually come through on your promises. You are going to be the one to liberate not only you, but you are going to be able to liberate us. First, this is what I used to do, but this is what I'm going to do. And this is why you need to pay attention, because in the middle of life, in the middle of everything that's going on, you not only need to recollect, but you need to say what you're going to do. Say it out loud. Say it out loud. See, let's be very clear. Me, man, listen, I went through some stuff in my life, and I overcame some stuff in my life. I went through school. I struggled through school, but I got through school. Then I graduated from school. I got my first job. Didn't make a lot of money, but I still enjoyed myself, and I learned some things which took me to another level. I left my first job. I started working for the church. I went through some things. I had to stop working for the church, but even while I stopped working for the church, I started getting closer to God, and I went to another level. Once I went to another level, I found me another job, made probably more money than I ever made in my life. But then I had to come to this fork in the road where I had to either pick money or pick God's purpose. And I picked God's purpose. My mother didn't talk to me for a long time. Some of my friends didn't talk to me for a long time. Some of my family members didn't talk to me for a long time. And it hurt me. It crushed me. It was a big blow to everything that I had going on, but I stayed faithful. So it took me to another level. That's what I did before. Then I came back to the church. I started serving. I started working. I started doing everything that God had called me to do. And even though people were in disagreement, I said, it's all right. We're going to agree to disagree. Y'all remember we talked about this a few weekends ago. So now we got all of this stuff going on. We got all of this stuff going on. So it's not just about what I went through, but I was bold when I said one day, at the end of the day, God is going to call me to pastor. And honestly, I believe that when you speak those things into existence, God knows that you know exactly what he has for you. So now it's not about where you're going. It's just about how you're going to get there. Speak it. You're supposed to start the t-shirt business. You're supposed to release the album. You're supposed to start the podcast. You're supposed to start the videography company. You're supposed to start the sound company. You are supposed to start the gym. You are supposed to get better. You are supposed to get fit. You are supposed to get sexy for the summertime. You are supposed to stack money so that you can go and buy your first piece of real estate. You are supposed to read the book that's going to take your family to another level, because you're going to be able to teach them financial goals. Not only am I going to recollect my last level, but I'm going to project my next level. Stop playing with me. Lord, no, I'm about to go to another level. This ain't it for me. Well, I mean, you got a good situation going on. You got a good situation going on. Aren't you okay with where you are? I'm okay with where I am. I am content with what God has for me, but I am expecting something even greater. Well, what if he don't change it? My expectations won't change. Yeah, my expectations won't change because even on this levels, there are levels even on this level. Yeah, there are some things that I want to do in here that ain't never been done before. So once I max out this level, see, the issue is sometimes we are always looking to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, that we forget that we're actually on a level. And the crazy thing about it, check me out, man. The crazy thing about it, I was talking to somebody about this before. God is so good. God is so good that if you miss it, you will miss the fact that God operates in levels. He operates in levels. Prove it out. Okay, prove it out, prove it out, prove it out, prove it out. Second Corinthians. Here it is. And it says that Paul got caught up in what? The third heaven. Third heaven. God gets caught up in the third level. All I'm hearing right now is the word levels, because at the end of the day, third heaven, which means there had to be a first heaven and a second heaven and now a third heaven, first heaven. You already know what it is. It's the earth. It's where we are. Technically, we are walking around in the first heaven. Second heaven, that's when you see the space, the stars, the planets. Third heaven is what's before that. God is saying, listen, the third heaven, that's one. Okay, the Bible then says in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 that I'll take you glory to glory and then faith to faith, glory to glory. That sounds like levels to me. Then it says in Revelations 22, it says that there are 12 gates / levels guarded by 12 angels. Now there are levels. So if God can operate in levels, then what makes us think that we're okay with being content with where we are? No. If God can do exceedingly, abundantly, that we can hope, ask, think, or imagine, then what I am telling you is that if you stop hoping, thinking, and imagining on the level that you're on right now, you are shortchanging the God that we serve. That if you think that what you have is all that God has to give, then you're limiting what he can do. 12 gates, 12 angels, third heaven, glory to glory, faith to faith, levels. There's levels to this, baby. And every day I wake up, I'll be content and grateful and thankful for what God has done. But I'm always going to put myself in a position to say, God, if you want to do more, use me as your vessel. David, he recollect his last level. He then projected what his next level was. Finally, they say, go ahead, man, fight the dude. Go ahead, fight him. So now, he goes, he sees Goliath. Goliath is a decent ways away. The Bible said that David picked up 5 stones. He put one inside of his sling. And then he hit then he hit Goliath in the middle of the forehead with 1 stone to knock Goliath unconscious. Listen to me. David stands before Goliath. Smart move. He gets 5 stones. Because David says, if the first don't work, the second don't work, if the third, the fourth don't work, this 5th one got to be it. But he was prepared for the inevitability that life could happen. That on the first throw, the wind could blow. That on the first throw, his foot can slip. That on the first throw, somebody could call his name and take his attention away. And too many times in life are we going after giants with one thing, one stone, one way of fighting, not knowing that true preparation should have contingency plans. That I give God the glory for being perfect and knowing the way and the answer. I give God that credit. But I don't give myself too much credit where I think that I always know the way and the answer. And that sometimes I need to put 5 stones in my pocket because if the first don't work, I need to get to the next thing. If your first business venture didn't work, you should have had 5 stones in your pocket. If the first person who got your number didn't work, you need to make sure that you're doing what you need to do so that somebody else can try to get your number, that you can look good, that you can put yourself in a spiritual place where you're not only physically available, but you're emotionally available, those are stones when you're going to counseling, when you're going to a financial advisor, when you're getting spiritual advice, when you are going to church, those are stones that you are putting in your pocket so that if one of them don't work, guess what? You got something else to depend on. You got to be prepared for the inevitability that you may not hit the mark the first time. And it says nothing about you, but it says much about our humanity. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And if your first plan fails, then guess what? You should have planned for your next level. You cannot put your plans in anyone else's hand. You have to know what you need to do. Picks up 5 stones. He puts it in his sling. Over the years, it's so funny that after you do research, I used to always think that when they said that David put the stone in his slingshot, that he had this thing where he pulled, like we all know. But when you see the pictures, and you can look it up on anything, we see the pictures, it's this idea that David put a stone inside of this cloth and he whirled it. And so it hit me that I should look up what this means. So of course, I look up the sling that David used. And after researching it, told me and it showed me that what he used was actually something that warriors used so that they did not have to come into close combat with their adversary, so that they can keep their distance but still defeat their foe. So we always, or at least I always, looked at this particular story like David used this immature thing to defeat this very mature warrior. No, David used something that warriors were using for eons and ages, and even though he was young, he taught himself what he needed to teach himself just in case something came up against him. Some people would say, why do I need to save? Just in case something comes up against you. Why do I need to invest? Just in case something comes up against you. Why, here we go, men, why do I check in with my wife on a consistent basis? Just in case someone comes up against you. Why do I pray and do my devotion on a consistent basis even though my life is pretty good? Just in case something comes up against you. You train yourself in a way. You go to the shooting range just in case something comes up against you, so that you are prepared for the very thing that is trying to take your life. Listen to me, you are going through some stuff right now. And what I'm trying to do is encourage you that in the midst of going through it, that if you don't have people around you recollect that last victory that you had. And even though it wasn't easy, God brought you through it. Be honest with God and those who are around you that the next thing that you are going to do is you're going to defeat whatever's in front of you, whether that be your GED, whether that be a college degree, whether that be getting your marriage straight, whether that means getting your finances straight, whether that means going to counseling, talking to your pastors, talking to whoever you are connected to. That's your next level. Then I got down here that your next level is dependent on you ending your last level. So I want you to be so far into God's will that you even understand that your next level isn't your last level. And that even though you may not know what it is or where you're going, you know that there is a destination before you. I don't know what God is going to do with the Remedy Church, but I know He has something planned. And that's why I am always fighting toward defeating the foes that are around me, the naysayers, the people who have rumors, the people who talk about you behind your back, the people who say that you're not going to do this, or you're not going to make the money to do this, you're not going to have the influence to do this, you're not going to be able to fill up these doors and to fill up these spaces, you're not going to be able to do that. Then I understand your thought process, but I'll defeat that too. And the reason why I am going at it with everything in my knower, everything in my system, everything in my body, everything in my mind, is because I know that once I am done with this, there is something else that I have to fight. And I'm not just fighting for myself. I am defeating giants so that those around me won't have to fight them anymore. I am working hard to defeat depression so that nobody else around me will have to fight anymore. I am working hard to defeat anxiety because I want to make sure that no one else around me will have to fight with it anymore. I am fighting lesbianism right now so that nobody around me will have to fight anymore. I am fighting pornography right now because I want to make sure that every person around me, they won't have to fight this anymore. This ends now, but even with this one thing ending, the marathon, it continues. Listen, I pray that those who are watching, that this blessed you in some way, believe it or not, I feel like God was speaking to me even while I was going through this. Many things that I see on this paper that I didn't say, because God just kept on giving me more. He's giving me more. And I'm just hoping that those who are watching who may not know Jesus, that you take this opportunity to befriend and make friends with the God of David, the God of Abraham, with the God of Joshua, with the God of Deontay Lavender, the God of Lisa Lavender, the God of those who have been in your family for generations. That God has done so much for me. And I want you to get a hold of what He can do for you if you just accept Him. Text the number so that we can get connected with you in some way, shape, or format. For those who are watching, I am asking that you continue to sow gifts, that you continue to sow seeds within our ministry, to our ministry, because we have amazing, amazing, amazing plans in the near future. We sat in, our creative team and second quarter planning meeting a few weeks ago, and it was awesome. Some great things to help single and married individuals, some great things to push prayer and to push fasting, going into this whole resurrection season and this Passion Week, and just finding our place in the kingdom and not allowing anyone to put any boundaries or parameters on what God is doing with us. Follow us on social media. That's how you are going to get updates and things of that nature. And we have some great updates for you. Just hold on, allow us to get through this season so that we can inform every person who is watching, who's a part of the local Remedy Church, and those who may not be able to walk through these doors. And you are proud to say you are part of the Remedy Nation. We thank you. We love you so much for supporting us. But we always tell you that even though we love you, God loves you so much more. Peace. I'll see you next week.